Welcome to the Marshall Pruitt Podcast and your Week in IndyCar listener Q&A. Capturing this on a Wednesday, flying out here first thing in the morning, Thursday, out to Colorado. Gonna film with the Wilson family for the Justin Wilson documentary. Been working on for a few weeks now. Then gonna catch a flight Thursday night up to good old Portlandia. Get ready for some BitNile.com Grand Prix of Portland, good old Portland International Raceway. Do that, fly home Sunday night, home for 2 days, and then back out first thing really early Wednesday morning and go and partake in some Rolex Monterey Motorsports reunion. Be there through, I don't even know, I think Saturday, maybe Sunday, whatever it is. And then keep rocking and rolling from there. So nonetheless, lots of fun stuff happening here. Right after that, then we head to Milwaukee. So good old Milwaukee, and then Nashville. And then we're going to be wondering, where did our season go? It's going to be over. So anyways, getting ready to hit the road and do lots of time on the road here. So I hope I get to see a number of y'all at some of the upcoming events. So be sure to reach out, say hello, shout something hostile wherever you're at. And, don't say nice things to me. Those things don't make sense. So, if you see me, say something caustic, and I will certainly turn around or look up or do whatever, and hopefully shoot you a smile back and say hello. Say a big thanks, as always, to y'all for the questions that you sent in. Our pal Jerry Sudduth, who puts them together sometimes with the help of his amazing wife, Erin, tells us that we have about 1,100 words and 25 questions. These were assembled and sent before some Department of Homeland Security social media imagery usages. We have a group 1 that is about 9 questions deep, spanning Portland and Fox and Milwaukee, etc. Group 2, and then even a group 3. And I don't think we're going to get that far, but we'll see how far we can get in a reasonable amount of time. And let's also say a big thank you to our long-standing show partners, TorontoMotorsports.com, makers and sellers of pretty awesome modern motor racing memorabilia, hats, t-shirts, books, models, stickers, you name it, IndyCar, F1, IMSA. They're also the official merchandise seller for BAF Motorsports, one of our dear friends in the IMSA paddock with the plaid, whatever it is they have. This time, recently, it's a plaid Lamborghini, but the official seller there. So pay them a visit if you would, TorontoMotorsports.com. And then the mighty JusticeBrothers.com, makers of just exemplary automotive chemicals, lubricants, and cleaners. Been a part of the Pruitt family since the 1970s with my dad's very first shop in good old Burlingame, California. So how cool is that? And we have our own, thepruittstore.com. Since I'm going to be away for a little while there, not going to hit that too hard because I don't want to suggest going there and getting things and then me not being able to package them up and send them right away. Before we jump into the show, I had a number of you ask, this was after Jerry grabbed all the questions, to weigh in on the Department of Homeland Security's use of an AI rendering of a Delardi W12 using the number 5, Pato Ward's number, and ICE and Speedway Slammer and all this. Appreciate those of you who want to hear thoughts and opinions on this. Decided a long time ago, don't do politics on the show. Did early, like the first year of the show 10 years ago, and it went over like the proverbial fart in church. But moreover, the overwhelming feedback was racing is my getaway, my haven, my sanctuary from whatever. It's my happy place. Could we please just keep it happy? Not having politics, name other things that make people really grumpy. Could we just not let that stuff bleed over into the show? And so been pretty strict and straightforward on that. So this is IndyCar adjacent. Let's keep it to the thing that brings us here. Let's move on to the show. Paul Woodarick. How you doing, Paul? Says, where would you like to see the series in 5 years after the Fox deal? Ooh, that's a good one. We try to open the show with some sort of thought-provoking item or main topic from the past week, and this one certainly qualifies. I'm telling you, if we could be in a place where IndyCar was a name that the average American knew, that right there would be a massive victory. And having grown up in a time where that was the case, it was the number one form of motor racing, known by, didn't matter what coast, north, south, or the center. If you were talking to someone about motor racing, their first reference, first mention would be IndyCar. That's changed. It's become NASCAR for many decades. Within recent years here in the States, it's become Formula One and NASCAR. Just having lived in some glorious times, y'all, when indeed IndyCar was P1, not just in popularity, but actual, it's the thing everybody knows. If you're watching a television show or a movie or something, and there was some sort of racing reference, it was the Indy 500 as what was referenced, or an IndyCar driver, Mario Andretti usually. I realize that's maybe a bit abstract or esoteric, but that to me would be an amazing indicator, Paul, that through Fox, through what we hope is going to be some pretty serious changes and modifications and alterations and other things that describe differences to come online here for IndyCar with this Fox involvement. Would love to give you some more specifics than I did last week, but I can also share that IndyCar and Fox have been talking constantly, trying to think of what to do, how to do it, when to do it, and so on. But there wasn't exactly a huge set list in place already of, okay, these are the things we're going to do in the first 60 days and then 90. And here's this exact script we're going to run through of what we're going to do and when and how. A lot of that is still being worked on. A lot of those things, at least in the shorter term, are what's having us wait for the schedule. And what is it going to be? When are the times these events are going to run, etc., etc. So they're figuring out a lot right now. And if they aim very high and are willing to push into comfort zones, I would look forward to 5 years from now and say, yeah, I think IndyCar could indeed. I don't know if it's going to take NASCAR over. Can't tell you where Formula One's going to be, if it's still going to be peak popularity and holding that, or if that's going to dip at all. Even if IndyCar is not the most popular, but is at least NASCAR adjacent, I think there's something significant that could be taking place here. So, and if that were to happen, this is where prosperity comes back into the paddock. This is where, look across your average NASCAR broadcast, and you see a heck of a bunch of major sponsors, companies you've either heard of, know well, or others that you don't, but realize, oh, in their industry, whether it's roofing or who knows what it is, they're clearly leveling up and in a place where they're succeeding and able to put some real money behind marketing campaign in NASCAR with a team and to get their name out to try and grow their business even more. They're at that point where using the lift of recognition in the top racing series is going to be meaningful for them. We don't have much of that in IndyCar at the moment. We've had it in the past, so we know it's possible to come back. So that's another area, Paul. It's tied to the, hey, if you can go coast to coast, north to south, and Midwest to Midwest, mention the name IndyCar, and folks don't look at you like you're from outer space speaking a crazy language, that would be a win. The thing that's tied to that is, if that's the case, then that would mean that the series is being seen by a lot more people. Companies big and on the rise would look at IndyCar as a place to spend money where they currently don't. And that's where real health and prosperity comes in, because there are too many teams. Not saying this is a crazy shock and it's never been mentioned before, but there are indeed too many teams that are not feeling super confident financially, aren't totally sure year to year exactly. I don't want to say how they're going to make it. We don't have any teams where it's like, oh, better watch out, they might go away. But it's just more a case of it's a little more hand to mouth, or we're scraping by, and we're in a steady state of scraping by. And how can we break out of that so it's not so much hand to mouth, feeling like paycheck to paycheck? This is where the potential of this Fox relationship, growing the audience size, increasing the average broadcasts audience base, all of these things can have a transformational effect on the paddock. So in one direction, my thought is popularity, so it's just something that is known more, loved more, consumed more. But the absolute direct tie to that, the second half of that, is if and when those things happen, this is where the financial futures of half of the teams we can look at and say, yeah, you're going to be good. You're going to be okay. You can absorb the costs of the new cars and the whatever else, and you are indeed going to be getting along just fine. So thanks again for a great question, a little bit of a thought provoker to kick off the show here. And why don't we move on to our next, which comes from, is this the part I should tell you that my laptop just blue screened and I'm waiting for Jerry's questions to come back up? I keep all this stuff in. Hey, it's back. Ricky Zagata, how are you? As we talked a lot about Fox's impact in IndyCar, but what impacts will Fox have on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway? Yep, that's a big dead zone for me of knowledge. Just need to get in front of some folks and ask. So have tried, and will. It's a lot easier to do it when you see the person in the paddock and you walk up to them and go, hey. So don't have anything on you on this for you right now, Ricky, but hopefully we'll be writing about this very soon. JP Brown, you're up next. Andrew Miller, you asked this as well. Do you think Fox will try to pressure the series into gimmicky playoff races and point strategies to avoid having championships wrapped before the end of the season? This is something that we will have had happen, assuming Alex Palou is not kidnapped, doesn't retire, or go into witness relocation program before Sunday's race in Portland. This is indeed something that is a very real possibility of happening, of Alex clinching this weekend, if not the following event at Milwaukee. If he does it this weekend, it'll be with 2 races left to go, which we just haven't seen in forever. He did this 2 years ago at Portland with 1 race left to go. And I can just tell you, it was anticlimactic going to Laguna Seca. It was cool because we had Colton Herta and surprising his dad with a birthday gift of his 98 Renard kart IndyCar, and they drove it and all. I mean, that was great, but there was nothing left to play for. So just mentioning all this because the possibility of this happening twice in a span of 3 years, you might expect, is something that would indeed lead an IndyCar to think about this. Are we serving up the most compelling content from start to finish in terms of championship and things to track? Doug Bowles recently told me in a story, not doing a chase or a whatever. We're not doing anything like that. Playoffs. This was said to me prior to this sale going through. I would just say that if I am Fox, I am thinking that, we're in the entertainment business. We're in the ratings business. We're a publicly traded company, and we are now part owner of IndyCar. What is going to get the greatest ratings? That's the place that they're involved. This is very different than we are a media partner of the NFL, Major League Baseball, or otherwise, and we simply broadcast the super popular thing that you make and have no involvement in suggestions like the ones you mentioned. I'd be surprised if there was no suggestions. I don't know if we're talking about pressure to change, but I'd be very surprised if this conversation hasn't already happened months ago, a year ago, who knows, and might come back up again. So we already had a fairly well-defined list of who was really going to be able to vie for the championship. Had that a couple races ago. Nothing has significantly changed, right? Person in third might have fallen to fourth, or second might have gone to third. Again, a little up and down here, there. But who's been fighting for this thing? We've known that. A couple more have been lopped off from race to race. But just sharing that, unless you're looking at this total wild card year where it's like, what? From race to race, seemingly folks are in and out and it's all over the place. I would hate to see a playoff type structure if that were the case. Would also say that in the interest of having the most amount of people watch, if championships keep getting settled early by an Alex Palou or others, and we're looking at what's going to get the most amount of people to tune into IndyCar, that's the part where I mentioned earlier and also last week of got to be ready to buckle in for changes done in the name of making IndyCar more than it is. And that, I think, is going to be a challenge. Because you look at the things that you love, I love, the paddock loves and is familiar with. I was having this conversation with an IndyCar team owner today. Said, there could be some changes coming where you're going to go, what? No. And it goes against comfort, familiarity. But the way things are going and have been going aren't good enough. That's not meant to be a mean statement. It's just acknowledging where IndyCar has been. Good. We love it. All those things we know. Needs to be more because it's not really succeeding for everybody the way that it should. You look at other sports and even the worst teams are raking in profits. They might be dead last. They are still crazy money coming in. Super security, no risk of them going away. Everything truly is just all good. Having too many teams fighting over the same couple of paid drivers with big budgets but limited talent just to stay afloat. That's, at least for me, not my vision of a healthy IndyCar. So whether it is considering a playoff format, if there's a belief that that will indeed bring more fans, keep more people watching in those final races, buying tickets to attend, I would not have been seriously considering this before the sale, but knowing that so many things could change now with Fox's involvement, all to radically grow IndyCar, I'm choosing to not put up barriers, go, okay, but no, I wouldn't do that. Like, to me, if you're going to try and do a pretty serious facelift on the patient, you might consider all the other areas where that surgery should happen and have this looking like it is brand new and amazing and the most attractive thing ever. So throw this out here, which I think I've mentioned before. So last year we did have the championship go down to the final race. There was a pretty decent crowd at Nashville Speedway. Not amazing, but decent, without a doubt. I can't think of a way, unless huge cartoon anvils are involved, where that same thing happens here in a couple weeks at Nashville. Now, Scott Borchetta, one of the great promoters, stepped away from promoting. Big fan of the idea of what you're suggesting here. Didn't happen, didn't come to fruition. IndyCar has since taken over promotion of the event. I don't know how much they have spent. I don't know what billboards look like locally or whatever other measures have been done within the market to tell folks, hey, August 31st, IndyCar season finale. I hope those things haven't said where a champion will be crowned. Granted, if you just hold on to the crown and don't give it to the person until the end of the season, in theory, I guess that's technically accurate. But barring some sort of miracle, it's just going to be a motor race to close the season with little to nothing on the line. There might be leaders circle thing. Hey, who's going to get in the top 22? I wish I could convince myself that a single person, knowing that the title's salted away, it's already been won. Manufacturers Championship has been won, which that's effectively done as well in Honda's favor. We got to get tickets to go to Nashville to see who makes it inside the top 22 in entrance points. If that person exists, bless you. We love you. You're amazing. But maybe one person would buy a ticket for that. And we'd have to give them a big hug and ask them if they were okay, because that's pretty wild to consider. Just saying. If you love motor racing and you just want to go see a motor race, like, go, please. It's really good track. So many positive things about it. But where it normally fits, hey, this is our game 7, right? The championship's already been decided. We just got a couple games that we're still going to play, even though they have no real significance. Pato Award is going to be second place. Okay. But there's no real concern about anyone else taking second away from him, barring cartoon anvils. It's more a question of who's going to finish third. Okay. So, just to drive home the point, in what is traditionally hey, we've come down to the finale, and this is for all the money. When a series is trying to get back to a better place, lacking the ability to do that and say that, get folks to tune in when, again, if you just want to watch cars go around, cool, but there's nothing of meaning at stake, that to me conspires against that growth. Ed Joris, do you think Indy on Fox will have better luck starting an event in the Northeast than IndyCar alone has had? It says an event somewhere IndyCar has not raced before, in Ed's opinion. I do. We'll just say that if you happen to read what I wrote last week on Racer, talking about one of the big initiatives that Fox Sports is wanting to initiate is creating brand new big festival-like street races for IndyCar, and also put in the podcast I think I did Friday or Saturday that went up. Would say Philadelphia Grand Prix. Tuck that in the back of your mind. Boston. No, wait a minute. We tried to do that already. Capital Grand Prix. Something done 23 years ago with the American Le Mans series. Just think of some big cities where who knows if it would last beyond one event, 2 events, but just, hey, we're bringing this to the people in big metros. And so, yeah, Northeast-ish for sure. I mean, we're not talking Maine, I realize that, but yeah, I would say we're on the clock for such things to happen compared to, gee, I wonder if it ever could. Vincent Martinez asks, will any of the Fox money benefit the other team owners directly, like an increase in the leader circle pot? Certainly a question they will be asking, Vincent, but keep in mind, this is Roger Penske selling a portion of a business he owns. He's not in business with the team owners who compete in the series. He has inherited and kept going with the Leader Circle program established 20-ish years ago by the Holman George family, which just takes the majority of the season's prize money, slices it up evenly between most of the entrants, and gives it to them in installments across the season. So just say that Roger's selling a portion of a business. I would not immediately think that would then lead him to go, oh, and hey, let me give profits from my business to people who don't own a single percentage of that business. Raising revenue, bigger sponsors, et cetera, to then use that to increase Leader Circle. Yeah, I think that could be something for sure. But I'm just talking historically when I think of things Roger has sold, of which not many really come to mind, and then giving that money to people who aren't part of Penske Corporation / Penske Entertainment would break trend for sure. Aaron Richmond, your article on Fox made it seem like more street races are on the horizon. I did. Is there any hope that sweet Fox cash could be used to do a track rental, places like Pocono, Michigan, Kentucky, that showcase what makes a sport unique and special? Always possible. Realize that this has not been held totally firm to, but Mark Miles, Michael Montry, who's in charge of events and calendar and such, they've both been pretty consistent in saying they're not looking to go back to places they've been previously. He says as we return to Portland, which came back to the calendar 5-6 years ago, and knowing that returning to Mexico City is certainly a thing that has been in the works for a while. And yeah, so I realize that your question's perfect. Just say that when asked, when we go back to Milwaukee in a couple weeks, and when we go back to Nashville Speedway in a couple weeks, there's just been a bit of when we say we don't want to go back to other places, we're kind of talking about doing more of that in the future. The ones we've chosen to go back to very recently, that's not what we're referring to. So I know it's a little hard to draw a line of like, so what exactly do they mean if they keep saying that they don't want to do that? But indeed, they're looking at going back to Mexico City. Although granted, the IndyCar series that we know it as today has never been there. That was predecessor, Champ Car, Kart, etc. But so maybe it isn't going back. It's actually for the first time for this entity. It'd be a brand new thing. But I hear you. But Pocono had no people show up. Kentucky, I seem to recall the last time there, same thing. Michigan, it's been forever. Going back to places, renting places that historic memories tell me, boy, there was a reason why we didn't keep going back. I'd say at least for the ones you've chosen, absolutely not. If there are any others where you're like, oh, okay, actually, we think IndyCar on these ovals could be a bigger success, then I'm sure it might be worth considering that. Taylor Solmos, I'm traveling from northern Indiana to Milwaukee later this month for my first IndyCar oval race outside of the 500. What can I expect from the place? I think you're going to love it. I hope you're going to love it. It's just a very homey area. Any must-dos? Gosh, I need to try and remember the name of it, and maybe one of our Prude listener group members can mention it. But there was a Prude gathering last year at a place that, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes away from the track. But great pizza place, and in the basement, it was like America's oldest bowling alley, and it was just like a couple lanes. But it was so cool. So I would just suggest that first and foremost. Back in the day, loved going to just there's a whole range of like old school feeling, settler type restaurants. Pick the section of Milwaukee that has a ton of Polish settlers from back in the day, and you go like, man, let's go get some awesome Polish food, like crazy old school. Or, and again, run through the variety of folks who settled in the area, and you're like, okay, I bet there's amazing. Pick the type of food over here. Those are the things that I tend to love. Also, as a fat guy, I guess I'm telling you food options, so maybe that's a little bit on brand. The coolest thing that I learned, and this, I might be telling you to not do the thing you're going there to do. Go to the race. It's going to be amazing. I hope you love it. The track's awesome. There's some fun stuff there on the fairgrounds too. Behind the main grandstands, you can go see, some food. There'll be music. There'll be all kinds of stuff. This is also, as I was told today by someone locally, which is amazing, the Milwaukee Brewers are playing on that Sunday, August 24th. Playing my San Francisco Giants. Okay, that's cool. Wouldn't be enough for me to go to that instead of the IndyCar race. But they are having Bob Uecker Appreciation Day, the late, great Uke who passed. They're celebrating him. And so I am, no joke, trying to figure out how do I kind of do both. Because at least when I grew up, Bob Uecker was a big thing. Loved him. Hilarious. I think that game goes off at like 1 o'clock and it's about 2 miles away from the track. Kind of trying to figure out if the championship is indeed sewn up this weekend. Do I go to the Brewers Giants game and bring my little laptop and have one AirPod in my ear so I can hear the IndyCar race and try and write a race report as it happens while also enjoying farewell to Bob Uecker? So just saying, if you're a fan of any of the things I just mentioned, awesome. But yeah, I'm in a little bit of a conundrum of how do I take in this one and only probably ever fan appreciation farewell to Uke at the Brewers game while they have an IndyCar race. So yeah, problems. Let's go to JMW. Long-time listener, first-time caller. The group in Indy now live out in Denver. Always make it back to Indy for the 500. Are there any details on a possible Denver street race? Keep hearing about the potential, but never any details. That's because there's no details, meaning here's something solid. There's just talk and interest. I hope to get a little bit more info to see if and where things are at here ASAP. But yeah, of the things that I've shared, and I feel like I'm probably not the only person who shared them, keep hearing that Rob Walton, as in Walmart family, this is something where might be involved, huge car collector, racing lover, etc. All the things that I mentioned a couple times over the last few months, I don't have anything more than that. The proposal that I heard was to run it around the Denver Broncos Stadium. So also, when I asked about this 2 months ago or so, was told that, yes, conversations are still happening. This is not a front burner item in any way. This would be a 2027 at the earliest, 28 maybe, if it were to happen at all. So would the Fox purchase have any evolution here to accelerate this? Possibly. So hate to keep hitting you guys with need to learn more, hope to learn more, but other than a interview in the Wall Street Journal, there's been nothing coming out of IndyCar or Fox on this sale. Plans, what might happen, when it might happen, events, and blah, blah, blah. And as someone pointed out to me today, or maybe yesterday, if they had a lot of this stuff in place, there would have been a press conference. There would have been folks talking, taking questions. Maybe not. Maybe it's just a Zoom where we have prepared things to read and we're going to tell you stuff and then we're going to say farewell. But there would have been something if enough was decided and already in motion for that to take place. So I do think this is something that could likely happen here. I don't know if Portland's the place. Feels like Midwest might be a little closer to home for that. Maybe season finale at Nashville, but I'd be very surprised if we got through the end of the season without folks from Penske Entertainment and Fox/Fox Sports sitting in front of us, talking about this in depth and taking questions, because this all comes from a really important place, right? Hey, we love this thing. Some of us have dedicated our lives to it and done so for a long, long time. This has great potential. Please tell us more about it. So, hope to have more for you here soon, but not exactly got anyone have their hands on the steering wheel of that timeline. Todd Murray says, best wishes to you, your wife Chabrel, and the cats. Thank you. Thank you, Todd. Sweet of you, man. This 2 weeks back, you mentioned Indy cars being simply too fast for most sport. What other tracks would you love to see Indy cars race at? What are too fast, small, dangerous, etc.? Says Road Atlanta, VIR, and Brainerd full course for me. I mean, Road Atlanta and VIR are, clearly I shouldn't say clearly. Most sport, Road Atlanta, VIR, the top 3 that jump out to me. Where else? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there are any others where I'm like, oh my goodness, that's crazy. Well, Lime Rock. Let's take Indy cars to Lime Rock. My gosh, yeah, we might see the first racing created tornado. With the cars whipping around there as fast as they would. I could just have cartoons of, spinning up the good old air and clouds and wind and creating, that would be wild. Have you seen any photos from the, I guess, mostly 80s and even 90s of prototypes mostly, but even some GT cars cresting the hill on the back or out back, and front tires off the ground anywhere from a little bit to like, oh, that's 1 to 2 feet off the ground, like it's about to blow over. Like, so this is why I'm laughing. I'm like, I like the majority of the drivers too much to put them in that position. Jeremiah Morrill, how are you? How are you, my guy? Hope to see you and the family here, Milwaukee, I'm guessing. If I remember, there was camping last year, so I don't know if you'll be doing that again, but I hope to get to see you here shortly. Saying, would love to get a silly season update. What are the options for Linus Lundqvist next year? Where does the NXT champ land? Do Coyne and Hukos choose consistency and bring back the same 2 drivers? What seats are actually available for 2026? If the price is right. Love it. Let me do this one thing, because I will not remember every single thing to run through this in a vaguely expedient manner. Okay. Top team, AJ Foyt Racing Enterprises in terms of alphabetically. Santino Ferrucci, multi-year deal, going nowhere, staying in the 14 car. Need to determine primary sponsorship for that. So that is certainly a topic that needs to be resolved. But Santino's in place. I think a lot of us are familiar that we're just on the clock waiting for Roger Penske's decision on what he's going to do with his employees, one of them being Will Power, the other one being David Malukas, signed to Penske last year, and whether Davey would stay at Foyt for another year in that second car or get the call up to the big team. And I can tell you that as of today, because I asked, there's been no indication made as to decision and who's doing what, but there is a feeling like, okay, we are actually now kind of sort of on the clock. So one car safe for sure, one driver in that car safe, figure out sponsorship for it. Could be a continuation, could be something new. And in the second car, If David gets the call up, that's the thing that will concern me a wee bit. This is something where the Hoyt team is not having to fund that. This is basically a farmed out driver, so that part's great. If he were to get pulled up to the mothership, this is something where a new driver would be needed and a full budget would be needed for that second car. Seen plenty of good folks saying, well, hey, if Malukas goes up, they should hire this person. There's no hiring here. This is, we have a car. It needs between $8 and $11 million for the season. And either it's finding $8 to $11 million for that to put somebody in it. Also keeping in mind there's a possibility of needing to find that same amount for the 14 car. Doing that for 2 cars in one off season, $20-ish million. That's insane. So, that second car, for the many reasons I've mentioned on the show before, but also just for the Foyt team, I'd love for Davey Malukas to stay in it, for it to be financially resolved, and to give the Foyt team a little more time to go out and develop partnerships, relationships, to ensure that when it's time for Davey to go up, that they do indeed have options there to either fund it partially all the way, or in this case, if Davey were to go up to Penske for 2026, I think we might be looking at the situation that preceded this, with fully funded drivers taking over that seat and reverting back to a point in time where the team had one really strong driver in the 14 car, strong entry, and one that basically a pay to play to keep the lights on and keep things moving forward. So maybe a little bit more to talk about there than some of the other teams. Andretti Global, all 3 drivers are signed through 2026 at a minimum. Nothing there, no changes happening. The team interview I did very recently with Chief Operating Officer, let's call him Cheap Operating Officer, sorry, brother. Rob Edwards said, Marcus Ericsson signed, going nowhere, honoring that, you name it. And I've heard similar mention from others who've inquired about whether that seat could be available. So, no changes at Andretti that I know of, period. If there were to be a change, then that would be something brand new compared to, this is in the works. And even though they're saying everything's good and status quo, they are indeed turning folks away who are coming and inquiring. So, Arrow McLaren, Pato, Nolan, and Lundgaard are all signed through next year, if not longer for some of them. I believe Lundgaard's on a 2-year deal, sure, with some sort of option. So, in theory, he'd be up the end of next year. Believe the same thing for our guy Kirk Kirkwood at Andretti and Ericsson as well. So end of 26, Jeremiah, is where, holy cow, there's a lot of potential changes to consider here. But been told that Arrow McLaren, nothing available for next year. Ganassi, same thing. Dixon's often done 1-year deals, maybe 2-year deals, but as long as Scott wants to be a full-time IndyCar driver, he's going to be. I've heard nothing about him planning to retire anytime soon. Alex Palou, I feel like they might continue with him. Obviously kidding. And Kiffin Simpson, same thing. He'll drive for that team as long as he wants to. So no risk, no availability there whatsoever. Dale Coyne, Renus, definitely they have been talking to a number of teams to see what interest there might be. The problem here, if it's considered a problem, is if you love yourself some Renus VK and have seen what he's done this year, currently 11th in the championship for Dale Coyne, right? Like, well, this is a breakout year. Want to see him go to a bigger team. Cool. There are no bigger teams with openings. Bigger meaning front running, not just physical size or financial, just truly which team would he move to that would take him to a top 5, top 3? For 2026, there are 0 teams with that to offer. There are teams that he and they are currently beating that have an interest. But what is that interest and goal for him? Is there a serious payday available at another team? I am positive he could make that happen. Juncos Hollinger Racing comes to mind. Would you choose going backwards and having to help develop a team maybe feels like it's in a pretty similar place to the one you left with Ed Carpenter Racing, of vast potential, but still largely untapped potential? Or stay at Dale Coyne Racing with your race engineer Michael Cannon and do bigger things for another year? I will be shocked if Renus is driving for another team next year by choice, meaning he decides to go, compared to Dale Coyne makes the choice to sign someone else. Holding on to that car for one more year with some of the openings that I mentioned are coming. Could there be something out of Ganassi, a Aero McLaren, a Andretti Global, McLaren, like, would just say, stay where you are. And having spoken with his manager, Laguna, on the grid before the race, was huddling up. It seems like they're of that very same mind. And look, I realize that drivers, especially young drivers with talent, don't stay in the smaller to midfield teams for all that long. This is a case, though, where they're knocking on the top 10, and you'd be insane to want to leave that when there is truly nothing, no other seat that is positioned in front of yours in the championship that you can step into next year. Ed Carpenter Racing, both drivers are signed. Christian Rasmussen's on a multi-year deal that was signed this year, so he's going nowhere. He is getting interest, I can tell you that for sure, but he is going nowhere, which is good for him and good for the team. Same with Rossi. Spoke with Christian today, get a story out here shortly, and just great to hear from him, doing so well for the team in his sophomore season. But it was also really cool to hear him just heap so much praise on Alexander for teaching him, showing him ways, leading by example. Sometimes it's not words, it's just work ethic or style or observing. So just cool. Looking at the big growth that Raz has had in his second year, and for him to happily and readily say, like, no, yeah, for sure. Driving alongside Alexander has accelerated my development as a driver. Like, just saying, sometimes those are hard acknowledgments to pull out of young drivers, high quality drivers. Tends to be a bit of ego or pride involved. Christian's always been just excellent, but as a person. But yeah, I just thought it was really cool of him being totally honest. Like, yeah, for sure, he's you got to give Alexander credit for my success and our success as well. So no changes at ECR, no changes at Ganassi, no changes at McLaren, no changes at Andretti. Just recapping quickly. Possibly one at Foyt. Coyne, I will double check and talk with Dale here on Friday, but I gotta believe he's going to want to continue with Renus. Jacob Abel in the second car, spoke with Jacob today. He wants to continue in IndyCar. I don't know if that would be with Coyne. I think that will very much be a Dale decision. With the full funding that they're able to bring, I would say that if by chance continuing with Coyne is not something that Dale wants to do, it's not like there's a lot of teams with readily available seats that can be hired, but I do believe that with the known strength on the financial side from the Abel family, that if a second Foyt car opens up, if there's a need out of Juncos Hollinger Racing, Those might be the only other landing spots I can think of, but uh, there aren't many teams left that are truly looking for fully, properly funded drivers. But those drivers walking around with the ability to be fully, seriously funded, that's also a bit of a rarity. This, to me, could be a bit of a match of team having a significant financial need and driver with the ability to fill that need and continue their career. If Dale were to decide, hey, let's do a year 2 with Jacob, I'd love that for him. Would love for him to have a single race engineer that he gets along with and connects with for the full season. He's on his 3rd race engineer this year. Mike Colliver, who was announced after the Indy 500, had pre-arranged race engineering duties in another series. Couldn't get out of that, so there's been a little bit of on and off there. But for a rookie who had a not great start to the season, didn't really have a lot of connection and super positivity with the engineer and so on, had confidence shaken more than once, and or just struggled to have quality things happen to build confidence from. Big fan of Jacob. I know he has talent because I've seen him use it. Feels like a do-over year 2, but a consistent year with single everything, single engineer, single everybody staying in place. I'd love to see that for him. Just a question of whether that would happen with Coyne or not. Juncos Hollinger, we could definitely see one change. I feel confident that one of the 2 entries will have a brand new driver next year, no matter what, full stop. Whether that is in the car that Connor's driving or that Stingray's driving, that I can't tell you. If Stingray is the person who is not driving the car, he would fall into that Jacob Abel category, I believe, unless there has been some sort of change in financial support. So, but we would be down to, again, not many teams anymore looking for a fully funded driver, more who are looking to hire. So he's at Juncos where that fits perfectly. He was at Foyt before where that fit perfectly, but no longer fit with Malukas and that funding coming in. And before that was at Coyne. Those are the 3 teams. He's at that 3rd team now, been to the others. If this were to not continue for him, I don't know where he would land. Not that it would have to be a case of falling out of IndyCar, Jeremiah, but if he were to fall out of this seat and there were none of the others that I mentioned who wanted to have him back for whatever reason, maybe they have funding from somebody else who they want to try. He strikes me as one among a couple of drivers in IndyCar, even in Indy NXT, who seem like they're at a let's go to IMSA and do LMP2 and have a fun and good career doing that. But yeah, for some, I'm concerned to see if their IndyCar careers will continue. Connor, he's been sneaky good if we're comparing him to his predecessors in that lead Juncos Hollinger entry. My fear for him, not necessarily anything he has done or hasn't done. Just wondering if the team wants a newer, younger, showier lead driver. That's where the question about Indy NXT championship leader Dennis Hauger, right? I'd say he's on the radar there for sure. You asked about Linus Lundqvist. I would put him on the radar there for sure. It's not like Connor is old. Not like Connor has lost a step. Again, been a big fan of Connor's for crazy long time. And I don't foresee that ever changing. My question looking to the future is this. The team is wanting to continue to modify itself. Came back, hiring drivers, effectively paying for everything. Been a change to that during the off season. One seat's now fully paid, paying driver. The other one, the lead car, is partially, I don't know what the percentage is, half, whatever, subsidized by the team. The other half by sponsors Connor's been able to bring in. Again, whatever the correct percentage is. But I would say looking to next year, getting back to that, we're going to go out and hire a younger gun, newer gun, someone that just feels different, with question marks about how high they can go or what they can do compared to a proven vet like Connor. That is just the vibe that I have been feeling and I'm aware of. And so for that alone, I'm concerned there's going to be a change. I feel super confident about that in at least one of the two cars, maybe both. Will Power, where's he going to go? I think this could be an option if he wanted to. I just don't see that being a thing that he would really want to do. The team is too far away from being competitive. The minute you accept that as a front-running driver at whatever stage in your career, it then becomes damn near impossible to get back to a front-running seat. This is where the newer, younger, we don't exactly know what we're going to get, but we are super enthused by the upside. If there's a change, my guess is we're going to see a new lead driver who fits that model that I just mentioned. Meyer Shank, Felix is signed to more years, so he's going nowhere. Marcus Armstrong, we'll see if he gets retained. Unless we're talking about Will Power wants to come drive this car, or name another crazy big driver. I think Marcus Armstrong stays in that car. This is the guy who's currently 8th place in the championship. Can be up there in 7th, if not matching and beating his teammate Felix Rosenqvist in 6th, if things go well here over the last couple of races. Would say that if we're thinking about the where might Will Power land jamboree, pretty straightforward. We're looking at a Juncos Hollinger. We're looking at a Meyer Shank in that second entry. And we're looking at Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing in their third entry. So there's a reason some teams are still not exactly signing and announcing, because they're waiting to see if they might be able to get their hands on Will Power. Will Power is better than any of the drivers and any of the cars currently that have question marks or potential availability for next year. So waiting on the answer. Then I think we're going to get a very swift answer on Marcus. If by chance he is not retained, assuming he would want to stay here, and again, you got to look to a Juncos Hollinger and go, hey, this guy, road, streets, ovals. I think he could be someone for sure that is piquing some interest there. Both Prema drivers are signed to multi-year deals, so don't foresee Callum going anywhere. Not convinced Robert Schwartzman is loving the full living in America, racing in America, everything experience. So while signed to a multi-year deal, just my own question is whether this is something he'll want to continue to do. I hope so. The guy's a phenomenal talent, but free will's a pretty powerful thing, even if it means potentially walking away from a big payday. But anyways, my own questions here. I've heard nothing from the team or otherwise to suggest that was going to happen. Just had that in the back of my head. But both are signed to multi-year deals. RLL, Graham, multi-year deal. Still more to go. Louis Foster, going nowhere. Signed. All good. Devlin DeFrancesco, huge question mark. Having a terrible return to IndyCar. Love Dev. Truly. One of the sweetest guys you'll ever meet. I mean, I can't tell you how much I care for that kid, just on a personal level. Race car driving, can't ignore the fact that he is next to last in the championship. If we all agree that Jacob Abel has had just about the roughest rookie season in memory, including failing to qualify for the Indy 500, Devlin is only how many points ahead? Devlin is only, is it 33 points? 33 points ahead of Jacob. If Jacob has a decent close to the season, he could actually move ahead of Devlin in the championship, which makes me sad for Dev as a vet, but he has a single finish better than 17th this year. That was an 11th at the Indy 500. But just to give context, on his return after a year away, after doing 2 years with Andretti, his best finish, there's a single one of them that's better than 17th. It is just, and not all of it's his fault. Totally, not all of it's his fault. A number of things in races that, again, not of his making. Regardless of all that, they do keep score. They keep score of the points, and they put them up. And if you floated between close to dead last all year long, that's just a very hard place to be in. To make a convincing argument you should stay, some teams with drivers that are new or young or unproven have performance clauses that say in order to guarantee your space in this car, you must achieve certain things by usually mid-season or so, maybe just a little bit past mid-season. Could have even been Iowa-Toronto, right? You've got to do these certain things, finish certain places or be in a certain place in the championship, have X amount of top fives, top tens. Each team's different in what they use for the criteria, but they're all criteria that say pretty decent results to lock in your place. Even if it was announced as a multi-year, newer driver, younger driver, unproven driver, journeyman, journeywoman, not uncommon to have those types of clauses. If that's the case with Devlin, got it. What those clauses would say, don't know. But if you've had 14 races and 13 of them have finishes ranging from 17th to almost dead last, you would just have to think those performance clauses might not have been met. So, question here is, so what do you do with the third car if Dev doesn't stay in it? So for RLL, of all the teams, Jeremiah, and this is maybe one of our closing questions, we're gone a little bit past what I thought we would time-wise. Of all the teams in the silly season, there aren't many where I'm like, I wonder which direction they're going to go. If they were to not continue with Dev in the third car, they would need to find the budget to do this, because Dev brings the budget for that car. They would need to find the funding. But I have RLL on the willpower pole position list, or if he is indeed looking for a new home. The team has been pretty darn good on Saturdays. Just wrote about that on Racer, where their qualifying's actually been vastly improved this year. Sundays haven't been as great with race results, but this is a team that's on the cusp of getting into the top 10 with a veteran driver, someone who can help them, help Graham, help Louis, and really just take them up a level, if not a couple levels. Would just say, if Power is not retained at Penske, if he wants to, it's a big question here, knowing that end of 26, there's going to be a lot more front-running type seats open. Does he do the Indy 500 with somebody? And who knows if it's any more, but does he bide his time, or does he commit to RLL and truly help that organization to become a more competitive version of itself? Help Graham in coaching up, tuning up Louis Foster, who's a phenomenal prospect. Yeah, that's where I got my eyes there. So we'll find out here if and what happens with that third car. And then Team Penske. Believe McLaughlin somewhat recently signed a new long extension, big prosperous extension. Joseph, was it last year, I think? Same thing, right? Nice long, prosperous, everything, like all the positive stuff. So believe they have those two locked in, no questions about free agency and what, like, you're ours, and who knows, maybe through the end of the decade or close or even longer. So really it's just down to what they're going to do with Will Power's seat. So that is what I hope is a fairly thorough run through good old silly season. And let's see, asking Dave Love 50 asking if Louis Foster's locked in at RLL. Yes, without a doubt. Eric Franklin, do you see them sticking to a 3-car program at RLL for the foreseeable future? Or would they be the first to divest themselves of a charter? Knowing that they are about to lose the BMW GTP factory program, I would say any opportunities to bring in money for a third car would be a pretty strong motivation for them. Cutting down to 2 cars in IndyCar and potentially 0 on the sports car side, and a big old building with only 2 entries in it. This seems like the absolute wrong timing for that, Eric. They've mentioned to us they are looking at other things in IMSA. You know, even if it's not factory, could it be a GT car? Could it be P2? Who knows? Indy NXT. I'm sure they're going to add stuff. I just don't know if I'd look at those other things, the non-factory deals, as like serious money makers. So to me, I would struggle to see how they would actually get rid of a charter. So no. Again, famous last words, could be totally wrong. Mohammed Kwali, you ask, VK is the best free agent out there. And Will Power's not so bad. Fast Indy 500, win at a road course and podiums on street courses. Why is a talent like that not already signed to a Andretti or a Shank? A little bit of a reputation thing, Mohammed. Renus is known for being crazy fast, right? We see that. Game day, man, that kid goes forward. Pretty amazing. It's the what else do you contribute to an organization question. And I've heard from some team owners when I've asked that they don't know if he would contribute in all the areas that they want. Doesn't mean he isn't contributing all the things that Dale Coyne wants. Just saying the descriptions that I've received have had like, hey, we know this guy's going to drive the balls off the thing, but is he going to make the team better in the engineering office? Is he going to make teammates better in some way? Is he going to take on the things we want him to take on and change, adapt, or otherwise? Again, questions coming from a place of just don't know. And therefore, as we have seen, a lot of teams are very, very averse to making big changes like that without a strong feeling they know what they're going to get. So maybe that's just a PR thing. Maybe that just needs to be more of a from Renus through, who knows, his PR folks, friends, otherwise, to talk about that side and explain that. Who knows? Just tell you that we're talking about Andretti. Hey, Marcus Ericsson, right? Indy 500 winner, big deal. We don't have an Indy 500 winners on our roster with Colton and Kirk. Multiple race winner, street courses, but just reputationally, we know this guy's a veteran, older than all of our drivers, great at the 500. We expect him to contribute in these specific areas that we want and know will make us better. They went out and got him. And those are the reasons why they went and got him. Arenas, just saying, and he's proven over many years to bring this, and this. I have yet to hear of that same kind of awareness and familiarity. So, again, not saying that he lacks anything drastically, just saying that's the feedback that I've heard. Horatio Frey, you're wondering if you can get an update on our washer that broke in car. Yes, bought a new washer. Yeah, that's fun. And yeah, I've had to lease a new vehicle. It is a little small, not SUV, whatever the small, tiny version of that might be. And so, yeah, found the thing that will work best, that my wife could drive as well if needed. There's a specific kind of size and height needed for her with some limitations. So that, and also with the least expensive monthly lease price as well. So yeah, boy, yeah, it's been a busy past little while. Just trying to look at what else we might cover before we say farewell, because the show's getting a little bit longer than desired here. Cody Oakwood, any word on Milwaukee or Nashville ticket sales? Is the future IndyCar schedule with only one oval, Indy, becoming a serious possibility? I don't think so. I mean, we've got Gateway, right? And feels like that is continuing, can continue, should continue for a good while. We are, kind of not totally going to be surprised if I was gone. Milwaukee, I feel like that has at least another year on it. Nashville, I mean, Penske's going to have to see who shows up, going back to where we covered in the opening of the show quite a bit about if there's nothing to really promote in terms of come see this and something big's going to happen, then yeah. So I think we could be down one or two here before too long, but I sure hope it's not just the Indy 500. That would absolutely suck. Lyle James, curious if Fox might have some sort of IndyCar TV app coming. I don't know. That's a really good idea, though. Dave Morrison wondering if the Nashville race could move back to downtown once the Titan the new stadium is built. I mean, that's what, 2-3 years from now? I don't know. I love the idea, though. I'll have to ask. Meant to see Scott Borchetta next week. Rolex Monterey Motorsports Reunion, where he's competing in the IROC class, which is pretty cool. John Wire says, is it me or does Kiffin Simpson seem a bit uncomfortable in front of the camera? Says, I hope this doesn't make it harder for him to find sponsors. Well, that's sweet of you, John, to think about that. His family is his sponsor. They are super sweet, crazy supportive, and let's just say that if they wanted to buy IndyCar and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and who knows, Fox, I don't know Fox, but from what I understand, we don't have to worry about the ability for funding behind Kiffin. If you live in the Caribbean and you buy just about anything, since most things are imported, you very likely purchase it from something, a business, an import thing, whatever that the Simpson family owns, has a controlling stake in or otherwise. So, yeah, all good there. Kiffin, that kid is so loved by his team. He's just a terrible interview. And I interviewed him for the first time, I don't know, feels like maybe 5 years ago, 6, a long time ago, when he was just starting out, I think, sports cars, maybe his first or second sports car race. And it was the worst thing you could ask for as a reporter, especially with someone you're talking to for the first time, where it was not just single sentence answers, but like 2-3 word, 5-word answers. Probably. I'm not so sure. Yeah, it was okay. No, it was good. I mean, you go like, okay, awesome. Just if you think of this like a cake, you kind of need it to rise. You need volume. If it just stays flat, that's probably not going to be the thing that's too appetizing. But he was like 16, 17, so gotten better for sure. But keep in mind, he isn't somebody who needs to jump in front of the camera and perform and dance and act and be silly and all these things to get folks to like him and sponsors to want to support him. Just himself, just a fun kid, funny kid, loves sports, athletic, surfing, being out in the world, being out in nature. Like it's, he's probably like most people where you go, no, also loves to do a thing that happens to have a bit of a higher profile, but take that away. And I think he's probably like a lot of folks that we know or went to school with or cousins, nephews, next door neighbors. So that's not a bad thing. I think that's the end of the show, y'all. Jeff Roberts, you're asking what's the latest on Toronto? When can we expect the schedule? Don't know. Keep waiting to hear. Again, I wish I had deep insights on this stuff, but there's been so many changes within IndyCar within the last week that got to wait for a lot of things to get mapped out and shared with us. All right, y'all, that's the end of the show. Appreciate y'all tuning in, and we'll be back next week, and we will talk about Portland and whether we have a new champion or if Pato was able to stave that off or Cartoon Anvils took Pillow out, and who knows. So can't wait to find out what we have to talk about next week. Thanks once again to y'all, our great pals at thejusticebrothers.com, and also to torontomotorsports.com. I'll speak to y'all here in a few days.